Hello. Do you know, I can't believe it was a year ago that I did an edition of Grey Matters on this very issue. With 200,000 views, it's one of the most watched videos, and it was about a then new report being considered by the Lords Communications and Digitals Committee. It suggested that a universal household levy could offer a viable alternative to the BBC licence fee. Now, this report also states that this universal levy, and they mean tax of course, let's call it what it is, would need to be means tested to make it fairer. And linking the fee to the council tax would be a way of achieving this. Well, that suggestion enraged our viewers, and the comments were so heated the comment section virtually caught fire. But I started to breathe more easily when the proposal seemed to fizzle out. However, it's back, and it's official. Adding the TV licence fee to your council tax is the BBC's preferred method of funding. I wonder why. Welcome to Grey Matters. Hello, and welcome to Grey Matters, the channel that promotes the fact that the older generation still matters and has relevance, and which looks at issues that matter to the older generation. And this issue applies significantly to the older generation in terms of affordability, but it applies to hundreds of thousands of people who've given up on their TV licence and have lived happily without one for years, because the rug's possibly going to be pulled out from under our feet. It's official. The Director General of the BBC, Tim Davie, has put forward his preferred funding model for the BBC to take the place of the current archaic TV licence. He wants it added to your council tax. Now, currently that wouldn't be possible. It would be illegal. But all it needs is a change in the law, which the government would probably support, and given their majority would just whistle it through. However, this new law would have to get past the House of Lords before it could come into force. And a few pundits have been saying that's great because that's where it would flounder. But I'm not convinced. I've got a feeling it might get through because it was the Lords Communications and Digital Committee that suggested a household levy in the first place. They said it could provide the BBC with predictable and sustainable levels of income. And in fact, this method has already been adopted in Switzerland and Germany, and it therefore provides the government with a nice convenient precedent, doesn't it? Now, the government stated that the levy would have to be means tested, but the proposal to load it onto council tax means that the more your home is worth, the more you'll pay for the TV licence. So how the hell is that means testing? I mean, there are people struggling to pay the tax it is, and why should someone pay more based on their house value? Doesn't mean that they watch more TV, does it? And if the lowest house bands paid a £5 a year, and the top bands, those with great big mansions, had to pay £500 a year, I could perhaps see the point. But that's not what's going to happen, is it? And let's face it, there are people with high value homes that have no particularly large income. They struggle to pay the council tax as it is. Many people have inherited their homes, lived in them all their lives, and the value has gone up. Doesn't mean to say that their income's any better or that they're millionaires. I know a lot are. So, as you can imagine, YouTube commentators and news channels are up in arms at the injustice of this idea. It's unjust because of the disparity of how much people will have to pay. But the injustice explodes off the top of the scale when you realise that you'll be paying for a licence even if you don't have a TV, even if you ditched your licence because you never watch or record live TV or use BBC iPlayer. Pensioners who ditched the licence for financial reasons will be forced back into debt. The whole suggestion is outrageous. And the black belt barrister, and I'm sure a lot of you watch him, he likened it to being forced to pay for a fishing licence through your council tax, even though you don't own a rod and never go fishing. Now, a friend of mine countered this argument by saying, well, you pay for your local public library even if you don't use it, so what's the difference? Well, there is a difference. And the difference is that libraries are a local service, and that's what the tax is paying for local services. A library is run by a public entity. It's run by the county councils. It's not a private corporation that rakes in billions of pounds through its other commercial divisions, such as BBC Studios and UTV. But we all know why the BBC wants to get its funding this way. It's because there's hundreds of thousands of people are ditching their licences, and that's really hurting their bottom line. Of course, you might think that around £14 a month for watching the BBC is good value. If so, good for you. It's horses for courses, isn't it? But I don't happen to think it is good value. Yes, I know the licence isn't just for watching the BBC and all those free-to-air channels, but the other main channels you can easily catch up with their catch-up services and watch them. I gave up my licence nearly 5 years ago, and I don't regret it one little bit. So to be forced to pay it, even when I don't need it or want it, would really hack me off. Now, I know from the last time, a lot of comments simply says, well, if that ever happened, don't pay that portion of the council tax, or don't pay your council tax at all. Unfortunately, that won't work. Council tax is not a direct charge for individual services provided to residents, and therefore it's not adjusted to reflect the level or types of services used by each taxpayer. The amount of council tax collected from each taxpayer is paid into a central fund, which allows the council to fund the provision of vital services to the local residents, which benefits the whole community. Although I have heard that this money goes into a central fund in government, and that means that the government have to give it back, and a lot of the time they don't, or they certainly don't give it all back. Yeah. And that's why some councils are running short on money to do the services, provide the services they need to. Now, there will also be some brave calls for a mass refusal to pay the council tax at all, or the TV licence part of it. They'll say it's not a criminal offence, so they can't do much if you don't pay. Well, they're right. Failing to pay council tax is not a criminal offence, it's a civil debt. So enforcement is carried out through the civil courts, and ignoring the council tax debt can lead to severe consequences, including court orders, bailiff action, deductions from wages or benefits, and in extreme cases, imprisonment. So it's not really surprising, is it, that with that in mind, I think there aren't that many people who would take the risks involved to join a mass refusal to pay. Now, if this horrendous idea becomes law, I can see mass protests. It could even be the government's poll tax moment. I mean, now that the winter fuel payment issue seems to be settled, I imagine this nasty piece of legislation will take its place as the most deeply hated. Yeah, well, guys, the comments are open. Let's have it. Are you as mad about this as I am? If you got things to say, do let me know. You know, I've said in the past, you guys are brilliant. You're very vocal in those comments. You put up some really great points, and we do try and read as many of the comments as we can. And I know this will boil your pee probably as much as it's boiling mine. I really don't like the idea of being forced into pay for something I've already ditched and don't want. If you like this edition, please share it. Let's get the channel in front of as many more like-minded viewers as we can, if you don't mind. And if you're not yet subscribed, well, here's your opportunity. And do please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'm going to go away and have another lie down. This seems to happen a lot at the end of my videos. In the meantime, thanks for joining us here on Grey Matters. And until the next time, it's bye for now.